Confession time, I'm not as loyal a Castlevania fan as you might think, but I would like to be. It makes a lot of sense. Castlevania games have all of the things that I want in a good video game franchise. They have atmosphere, great action, monsters, great music, but for whatever reason my experience with the franchise is pretty much limited to just a few of the many games that have been released. Symphony of the Night being one of them, which is probably my favorite, but I also enjoyed the two Lords of Shadow games, but outside of just a few minutes on other games, that's really about it. So my perspective on the franchise is that of somebody who hasn't really played nearly as much as most fans probably have, but I have enjoyed what I've gotten to play so far. So I was pretty excited when I saw that Konami was releasing a couple of the older classics in a bundle with Castlevania Requiem. Although a little bit bummed out that it was digital only, I really would like to have the option to get a physical copy. Still, I'm happy for any reason to support Konami for doing something good at this point. They were one of my favorite publishers for such a long time, and they were responsible for so many of my favorite games growing up, including several of my favorite franchises to this day. That being said, Castlevania Requiem has been described as a bit of a cash grab by many, and I can kind of understand that since the package only includes 2 games, one of which is already available on several platforms, new and old. That being said, Rondo of Blood is indeed hard to find since it was a PC Engine exclusive and never made its way to the States for the Grafx when it was initially released. It did become available about a decade later on the Wii and the PSP though, but outside of those ports, Castlevania Requiem is the most modern and convenient way to play Rondo and Symphony of the Night on your PS4. Now that may or may not be worth $20 to you depending on what consoles you have hooked up right now, but I think it's ultimately a fair price for the amount of quality and sheer gameplay hours that you're going to get out of these 2 games. There's also a few bells and whistles thrown in. You can change the size of the game screen, you can toggle a smoothing option, which I liked quite a bit, and there are some scan lines and interlacing options that I appreciated being there, but I felt like they were way too pronounced, and being able to have some intensity options for them would have been nice. You can also change the backgrounds to fill up the empty space on your display. So while this is kind of a bare bones list of display settings, I'm glad Konami decided to put them in there at all, especially the smoothing option for people like me that like an alternative to having super sharp pixels on older games that weren't really intended to be displayed at such high resolutions decades in the future. If you somehow haven't played these older Castlevania games before, but would like a chance to get into them, I think this is a perfect way to get started. Be warned, they are hard as nails, especially Rondo, but they are a lot of fun, and from what I can tell, they seem to be extremely accurate ports. The music sounds great with excellent frequency range, and they run very smoothly from a visual standpoint as well. I'm glad to see that these games have been preserved so well by Konami. What is here is priced appropriately. The 2 games are great games, they're a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to having them so easily accessible on my PS4 from now on.